Hey everybody, let's talk about deformers, but before we do that, let's remember there's a couple rules that we want to talk about of rigging. Rule number 1 that you'll see right away is edge loops, and then rule number 3, Lockwood isn't going to be animated. So we'll make sure we follow those today. Alright, let's just start off with the basic cube. We're going to go into channel box layer editor. I'm going to zero this out. I'm going to do 10. Actually, let's make it a rectangle. So let's do 10, 5, whoops, maybe 5, 10, 5. Okay, and then translate y will be 5. So it's sitting right there on the home grid. It's pretty much ready to rock. Remember, we have to do edit, delete by type history. Here, this one, sorry. And then modify, freeze transforms. So this object is done. Let's make sure we rename it. I always do the naming after I make sure everything is completed and it's ready for animation purposes. And it's named Geo. All right, let's go to deformers. We're going to start with the nonlinear deformers. Let's check out a bend deformer. And I'm actually going to switch over to the attribute editor and manipulate the curvature. Perfect. Look how much it bends. No, it doesn't bend at all. It's not bending. Nothing's happening. So it's broke. But really the problem is there's no edge loops in it. It has no edge loops, so it can't actually bend, even though the bend deformer has been applied. So we can go to bend, change the curvature. Nothing's actually happening to this object. So I'm just going to undo right there until I delete it. Maybe one more. There we go. Until I see polycube come back. So I could have just made another cube, but so polycube is back. Let's add some subdivisions. And what we need is the height subdivisions. We don't need a bunch, so that's a bit much. That's too many. So I'm just going to go with 5. Nice amount there. That looks pretty good. So now that it has subdivisions, we can do those 2 tasks again to get it ready. Edit, delete by type history. Remember, Alt-Shift-D for those, and then modify, freeze transforms. And then after that's done, that's what I'm going to rename Geo. Can't see if that's, there we go. So I got my Geo zeroed out. Everything's good to go. Let's go to deform again. Nonlinear bend. So now the bend deformer has been applied, but this time when we manipulate the curvature, hey, check it out. Dun, 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 dun. It's almost like Pac-Man. Chomp, 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 chomp. Anyway, let's check this out with some edge faces on. So select the object and do wireframe unshaded. So now we can see edge faces the whole time. We can go back to that curve handle, bend, and check out the curvature. Not bad. We do have a high bound and low bound to manipulate. So for example, if I, on this one, if I zero out the low bound, now just the top portion of this cube manipulates. Now you can see eventually it does go inside of itself there, but for this demo, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to put the curvature back to 1. So that's pretty much set back. So that takes care of the edge loops rule. Edge loops is good. We chopped it up. We have edge loops in the object. That's all we need. We don't need a bunch of edge loops in this. We only need edge loops that are going to help deform. And really, this is a finger. If you think about it, it might have a couple more edge loops than a finger, but that's what the necessary edge loops are needed to deform a finger. So this could be a finger, an arm, an elbow, something like that. You would have to have edge loops going through the object so it can deform based on, the rig. Let's add a little bit more to this to clean this rig up. Or actually, we're going to take some things away, technically. Let's lock what isn't going to be animated. So right-click on all this, lock selected, because we're not going to animate on the Geo. And actually, we can do the same thing for the bend. It has a gizmo or handle inside of this, so we can lock that as well. Whoops. Lock selected. Now you can see under attribute editor, I still have access to my curvature. But this thing's locked down. Let's select both of these, Control G. We got our group. Let's do a GRP for group. I should have gave this a name, but let's just call it cube. Okay. Now the last thing that we want to check on the group, and we're going to get a couple shortcuts. If you watch the deformer video next, this one is going to be shortcuts related to that. So the shortcuts are pretty similar to what we were using. D will get you to the pivot. So D is the shortcut to edit pivot, and you can either just tap that once or hold it down. And then the other shortcut that we went over is hold down V when you're in this mode. It'll activate snap to points. But then another one is X, and that'll snap to grid. So if you have those shortcuts activated, or they're on by default, but if you hold those shortcuts down, you'll see that you can kind of snap that right to the home grid there, right on the bottom. Okay, and then if I were to move this object, or sorry, this group, my rig here, you can see I can move it. If the animator wanted to do that bend, you'd have to dive in way in here for now to manipulate that. Whoops. So you can see that's manipulated. Later on, we'll make that a little bit easier, but that's pretty much it. So adding deformers, make sure you use or apply or pay attention to those rules, but that's all I got for you. All right, see you on the next one.